And welcome once again to Living in the 21st Century. This is the first show for the new year. Happy New Year to all of you. And joining me today in the studio is Zakiya Fitzgerald. Zakiya, it's a pleasure to have you here on Living in the 21st Century.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So Zakiya, I understood that you are experiencing some turbulent times in your life. You were diagnosed with Alport disease, that's what it is, or syndrome?
Yeah, Alport syndrome.
Yeah, would you care to tell us what that is all about?
Yeah, so Alport syndrome is one of the kidney diseases. There's a lot of different kidney diseases, a large umbrella. But it's just like another little section. And unfortunately, in my case, it's just causing my kidney function to rapidly decline. As a child, we always knew I had a kidney disease, but the Alport syndrome is a newer diagnosis. Back in March, my function was at 30%. Unfortunately, now we're teetering between 8 and 10%. So it's crunch time.
Yeah, that's a rapid decline there.
Yeah.
Tell me though, how did you actually came to find out that you had this type of syndrome?
That was a wild ride. So I was in Georgia, and things are really like starting to get stressful, going through a lot of like tough situations. And I started to just feel really off is the best way to explain it. I always tell people like, listen to your body. There's no other way to explain it, but I felt off. Something was wrong. And then just experiencing a lot of like headaches, dizziness, lightheadedness, feeling kind of disoriented a little bit. And that was the first time we went to the emergency room. I didn't have health insurance, so mommy was like, just go, like worry about the bill later. And that was the first time we saw my pressure was about, I believe 230 over like 170. Very high.
That's pressure
stroke high.
To put you into a stroke.
Yeah, so people who don't know stroke high, that was like shocking to me. So then my mom was like, no, that's not happening. So she sent my brother and my uncle to get me, came to Boston again from here. But and then so once I got here, it was about, I want to say a week or two later, I got even more sick. Coughing, like body chills, like, and so then I went to the emergency room again, same thing, pressure was very high. And then they like ran more tests, and they saw like that it was doing a number on my kidneys, being sick like that, and like since I was coughing so much, it was like pressuring my kidneys, also causing pressure in my brain. We learned I also have a brain condition, so it was a tough week that week.
Oh, this
I saw like 6 doctors at a time. Like every time they would come in, they would bring students in, but I don't mind it.
Wow, this seems like it has a lot of side effects and more failure for other parts of the body.
Yeah, it definitely. So the brain condition is actually a separate thing, but the symptoms are a little bit similar. So we have to like watch it really closely, especially with the headaches, because you have to know kind of like, do I have a headache because my pressure is too high, or do I have a headache because the brain condition? So I've been learning a lot about my body. That's and listening to it.
That's true. One of the things I understood about this disease is that it's hereditary. Some family member often have this close to you. So is this something that your dad have or your mom experiencing or similar or anything like that?
Unfortunately, I don't know if my dad would have had it. Mom has a different kidney disease, so the Alport syndrome, we're still kind of trying to understand like where that came from. But I do know it's rare. All of my conditions are actually rare, but I laugh because like gotta laugh to keep from crying. But yeah,
laughter is good though.
So I'm not sure. I did do some like genetic testing a couple years ago, but this is before we knew about Alport syndrome. So I do want to ask to do it again so we can try to figure out kind of the origin, I guess.
Do you have an idea of the statistics around those who suffer from this form of disease?
Honestly, no.
No? Okay.
So I've tried not to Google. Just because the internet, I don't know, it's a treacherous place. I feel like all of the bad stories come up first. Luckily, though, my doctors, they're really great. They reached out to me with a lady from a program called Kidney Smart. And she walked me through, her husband had the same disease as me, and she kind of taught me a little bit more about like your options, because they say dialysis and it's like, whoa, like everyone knows it's a lot. You have to go 3 times a week, but that's not the only option. What I learned, which was really nice, perineal dialysis you can do at home overnight on your own.
Okay.
So I learned about that. She taught me about different like dietary changes. It's good to talk to a nutritionist because everybody, even though we all like may have a kidney disease, everyone's body is different and needs different things. Like me, for example, my kidneys leak protein, so I need a lot more protein. Some people, they don't need as much protein. They may need more potassium. I don't need a lot of potassium. I have to be careful with potassium. So dietary-wise, everyone's a little bit different, but the main thing is to stay away from salt, of course.
Yes.
My skin disease, I'm because of that, I'm mindful of sugar. A lot of people, if you have diabetes and a kidney disease, it makes it 10 times harder.
Definitely.
So little things like that. So they do have a lot of resources that's helpful.
Yeah. I often tell people that when they experience something traumatic in their lives, like a disease, whether it's kidney or heart or liver or something like this, and they are still alive, I believe if it didn't kill you yet, there's reasons why it didn't kill you. And often I believe that strong people comes out of these circumstances in life, and they become somewhat an ambassador in counseling people who may have the similar disease and to keep them strong. Often people want to give up in life when they recognize there's this bad disease about to take their lives and so forth. No. If the disease didn't take your life yet, why do you want to take your own life? I mean, it doesn't make sense. I think what makes sense is that you remain strong and calm, you know you have something to deal with, and you put the best foot forward, not only in terms of looking up for your own well-being, but for others. Use this moment to be an ambassador to other people, not just kidneys, but with other different organ failures. I mean, right now, there's more than, I think I mentioned before, 106,000 people, Americans who need organ transplants. And we got millions of people in this country, and everyone want to cluster on to what's theirs, right? And it comes down to tell you the heart of America. If we love so much people, if we are so gracious, if we are so good, well then let's donate an organ. If you're not donating your heart, that's fine because you only have one heart. But if you could donate a piece of liver or a kidney or some other organ that can save someone else's life, why not just do that? So since we are on this topic, I want to ask you this question. How would you want to express any kind of thought or give a word to those American people or whoever live here? It doesn't necessarily have to be American. Why it is imperative that they should feel good in assisting someone who needs an organ, whether it's a kidney or heart, or not heart, but otherwise.
Yeah, personally, as a young adult, I think we just need more education because I didn't really know prior to this much about the donation process. I would just think like, oh no, like same thing. Like let me keep my organs to myself, you know. And I think it's real important because specifically with kidneys, like you really, if you're a mostly healthy human being, you're fine with one.
Absolutely.
For donation, the transplant process, you actually only need one kidney.
Yes.
Whether or not both your kidneys are affected or not. So it's just important for a lot of people to know like you can help and it doesn't negatively affect you. It doesn't cost anything. Even like my insurance covers everything down to like mental health services. Like there's just a lot more resources that people just don't know. And I think I'm also in between that gap of, I'm first gen, so my parents are from the islands and I'm from America. And I think also like a lot of people of color have a distrust of the medical industry, rightfully so. We know our history, we know why. But people really are trying to make things better. I can say that like, every time I'm in the hospital and they ask me, oh, do you want students to come in? I always say yes. Because to me, it's important. I feel like I'm doing my part to make sure that our people are receiving better care because unfortunately, we just weren't considered. In a lot of these textbooks, we weren't considered. So we now have to start reworking the system. So if we all work together, things can change.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that too because I recognize people of Caribbean descent and culture has a total different philosophical view on the human lives opposed to people here in America. And I don't want to use the word ill-educated, but to some degree it may very well be that, because they are not exposed to the kind of education in the Caribbean nations that you are exposed to here in America. And because of that fact, some parents or some family members can even blame you for things that you didn't cause upon yourself. And that could be even additionally stressful on that person. I don't think anyone go and put a disease on their bodies. I mean, that don't make any sense. I think we are all alive and we are subject to any form of sickness or disease that this earth has to offer. If you live a life free of disease and sickness, well, thanks be to God, right? But I think what Caribbean members, people from the Caribbean descent, and probably from other countries who educational standards may not to be as par. And it's not that the parent or the family member don't love you. It's just that they're not intelligent enough to know what's going on and they blame you. And I think it's imperative that we establish some level of education to these cultures that they can come to recognize, you know what, it's unfortunately this situation happened, but we've got to do our best to assist and give that person love and care and attention. And something that all it takes, because when you're sick and stressed out, you can't focus and deal with stress, especially family stress. That's putting more torture on your body, and it wreck your soul, it wreck your life. You want to give up. And this is not a world, especially a person as young, would want to give up on. You now have to grow up and experience life and embrace life to the fullest of your ability. You need support, family love, and care and attention. With that said, though, for those people who are desperately in need of organ transplants and they can't seem to have a way out, it seems like no one is stepping up to the plate to say, well, I'll give you an organ, or I'll do this, or I'll do that. What level of confidence, considering your situation now, this is where it shows power, it shows intent. What level of word or confidence would you give that person that they should believe in themselves and have that faith to hang in there? Something may just happen at the nick of time to save your life. What?
Oh, I'm kind of in that space now. I would say, honestly, the power of social media, because I didn't want to talk about it at first. I didn't say anything. It was really just like my close friends.
Yes.
But this isn't one of those things that you could battle by yourself.
Right.
And I just kind of was like, okay, I'm going to post about it. I'm just going to explain what's going on, tell people. And then like 3 people called me and was like, okay, what's the number? How do I find out about getting tested? So I think it's just being comfortable to say like, this thing is happening to me. I'm not this thing.
Right.
Like, and social media is really powerful. My doctors are telling me like some people find donors from Facebook, TikTok, like Twitter. That's right. And I was like, oh, I have all those things. Let me start talking about it, you know? So I think for some reason people just feel like ashamed when you're sick. I don't know where it comes from, but like it feels very like, oh, don't look at me. I don't want to seem like I'm not perfect, but it's okay to not be perfect. We're all human.
But you know one thing though, I'm glad you touched that one part about people feel ashamed to talk about sicknesses. I found that again is something that is not in really the American culture. The American culture really speaks about themselves. It doesn't. Sometimes there are things that I believe you should hold personal and dear to your life. They talk about it. But we in the Caribbean seems to hold things in dear to us as our culture. Or don't let that person know you're sick. You know,
I would say for Bajans it's definitely a pride thing. I don't know about other countries, but everyone wants to seem like they just have it all together, and it's like no one has it all together.
I take that slogan, that motto about pride in the industry. Hey, rid the pride. Keep the industry, but rid the pride. Pride is a deadly thing. And it is full of, sometimes, believe it or not, that pride is full of hate, it's full of poor demeanor, and it's is not good, right? And that something could be a hindrance in your life rather than a blessing. Rid of pride. But I want to talk a little bit about you personally. What your career is like? You know, you went on to study professionally and so forth.
So, I'm a pastry chef.
Nice.
I love food. So, it's definitely a little challenging.
We know you're about to smell it, but you can't eat it.
Being a little bit more mindful. But I've been getting the hang of it. That's the good thing. Like, there's so many different options. There's so many different, like, no sodium seasoning. So I'm getting the hang of that. And the cool thing is I work for a vegan company. Everything we make is vegan, gluten-free, no processed sugars. So I've been learning a lot about different ways that you can slowly change your diet. And it's not hard. A lot of people get freaked out. They're like, vegan, no dairy, what is that? But there's so many options now that like it's so easy to find something that works for you, and you don't have to do it overnight. Like it's small changes here and there. It's once you start, and it gets exciting because you get to see all these ingredients that like you've never used before, or you have, but you never thought to use it that way. So to me, it's fun.
But is a vegan diet really a good diet, a healthy diet?
Not always.
Because I have a brother who is a vegan, and believe it or not,
because Oreos are vegan.
Anyone that doesn't, that ain't even a vegan. Yeah,
Oreos are vegan, but if you eat a whole pack of Oreos, it's not healthy. So it's really just about balance. It's about definitely getting as many fruits and vegetables. That's the main thing. Okay. Fruits, vegetables, water. water.
Okay. Nothing to do with meat, right? Vegans don't eat meat.
Vegans don't eat meat at all. I eat meat. So for me, I'm more so like, I would say like closer to pescatarian. I like a lot of fish, seafood.
Pescatarian, you say? What is pescatarian?
So pescatarians only eat seafood. So you won't eat like chicken or beef or pork or anything like that, but you can have salmon, shrimp, all that good stuff, and that's okay.
That's good stuff.
Yeah. So there's options. You don't have to cold turkey just because some people are like, oh, nothing by an animal product at all is extreme. Like, you don't have to go that extreme. It's a choice. Yeah.
Nice. So I want to skip over the boundary of the kid, you know, because I believe firmly that you will get a kid. Excuse me. Where do you see yourself in the next 10 years, your future? A master chef or own your own business or what?
I've always wanted to have my own cafe. Always. And it's important to me. I want one that implements like a pay it forward system, kind of, where persons who may, you know, for whatever reason can't afford a meal can be able to come in and get a meal, you know, without feeling ashamed or anything. Be able to just get a nice warm meal, because I think food brings people together. That's why I decided to be a chef. Because who doesn't like to eat?
but that's true. I've never heard of that one. I heard music bring people together.
Yeah,
never
food brings people together. Because if you think about it, right? Think about how many, like, I love when I meet other Caribbeans and I'll be like, oh, we have this. And they may call it a different name, but it's the same thing and they make it different. Like, and it's so cool being like, okay, there's one item, for example, like, I've seen plantains used so many different ways. And it's so cool. Like, oh, I would never think, like, I know my friend's family, they make like a porridge with plantains. I would never think to make it like that because I like them fried. So it's just fun. It's a conversation piece. And it's just, you can get really creative. I make art with my food.
Wow, that's good. That's really nice. I can remember when I was a kid growing up, I came up in a family of poverty. I believe up to this day that I was the first person ever on this earth to fry bananas, green bananas. We can find anything else to eat. I never liked bananas cooked, so I peel these green bananas and I chip them up like that, put them in the oil and fry them, sprinkle some salt on them. It tastes pretty well, right? But yeah, though, on a more serious note, with your form of sickness, right? Does it pose any limitations to your life or how long you may live if you don't get a kidney in time?
Somewhat. So I'm with the younger demographics, so it's a lot easier. I have a little bit more time. Because otherwise, you know, the rest of my organs work just fine.
Yes.
For people who are older, it is harder, especially like dialysis takes a lot. It's a lot of energy.
I understand that.
So a lot of time, like older folks, it's like 5 to 10 years. But some people, you can be fine. You get transplant, you can live to 80.
Right.
So it's really just also about like maintaining a healthy lifestyle otherwise, like getting in the gym, like I was saying, drinking water, getting your fruits and vegetables up. If you can maintain a healthy like lifestyle otherwise, you help prolong that process as well.
Okay. So with that said, how would you go about, after you leave here, obviously you would get a link for this show, how would you go about like promoting this link to the Caribbean or wherever you want to promote it?
It's funny because everyone's been like, how do I share? I was like, let me get like an official video for y'all to share because there's so much different information and I don't really know the best way to like get it all out. So definitely posting it. Like I have I have a podcast, so we're definitely going to end up talking about it there. And it's also been nice because in this process, like I've been educating a lot of my peers. A lot of people tell me like, oh, I've always been scared to go to the doctor. And I'm like, no, go. Please go, because it's better to know what's going on so that you can make those changes that we were talking about and you can try to turn things around versus blindly leading life thinking everything's great and you don't know. I wouldn't have known. I would have been going on like it's nothing and then God forbid I had a stroke or something, you know?
Well, glad you say that too, because a lot of young people, especially in this generation, they are living in the denial stage. And that could be very serious. Speak to those people that have...
Go to the doctor.
Go to the doctor.
It's very important, like, to not be scared. I know a lot of our elders have told us, like, really crazy, scary stories. I can tell you I go to the doctor often. I have to get tests often. And they do want to help. Yes. I've been also part of, like, a focus group or something completely different. And doctors really do want to hear from the public, especially I feel like a lot more younger people are becoming doctors. And so it's great because they feel more comfortable talking. We talked about a lot in our group, like not really knowing the best way to even ask questions or what to say and not being sure. It doesn't matter. Just advocate for yourself. If something feels weird, hey, this is weird to me. Do you think it could be this? Or what's your opinion? Or get a second opinion for certain things. If a doctor's telling you something or you don't feel like your needs are being met or they're listening to you, you can say, okay, are you refusing care? Write that in a note so I can go get a second opinion from someone else. Push, because it's your body, it's your life.
Absolutely.
These people are here to assist, so you have to be the coach. So.
Yeah, that's cultural differences again, and I'm glad you touched that area because, like you just said, push, go to the doctor and do all this kind of stuff. Back in Barbados, and your mom should know this, people go to the doctor and keep their mouth shut. Like the doctor is supposed to know what's going on in your body. You feel sick, you go to the doctor, I'm sick. No, the doctor's supposed to tell you what you're sick with before giving him some form of information of what's going on in your body. And, well, this is really Caribbean, right? So, how would you address people in the Caribbean that think that they just go to the doctor and these like some gods that they just figure out what's going on in your life? Speak
it's
to
so
them.
crazy because I've actually experienced that directly. I went with my aunt to the doctor. And I was getting so frustrated because she was telling him, like, because he's like, you're not taking your medicine. She's like, okay, well, I'm not taking it because it makes me feel this way. And he was just like, not hearing it. All he heard was she's not taking it. And I'm like, well, you're not listening to her. She's telling you this is how it's making her feel. So what can we do to either change the medication, the dose, or is there anything that she can do to not have these side effects? Unfortunately, I don't really know because part of it is one, advocating for yourself, but two, we need people who are willing to listen. I understand doctors only have so much time, but you still need to listen to the people that you're serving, the communities that you're serving, and see what the needs are. If a lot of people are experiencing a certain condition. Maybe it's the area. Maybe, you know what I mean? There's just so many things. There needs to be more open dialogue, I think, between health professionals and the public. And people not to feel ashamed to talk to each other either, and say like, okay, well, what was your experience when you went? Who do you see? Maybe I can switch to your doctor. They seem to be a little bit more understanding. So I think, like we were talking before, not being ashamed to talk about what's going on.
Okay, beautiful. Well, once again, this is Zakiya Fitzgerald, who is in need of a kidney, and we would like the public to do whatever they can to assist her, and especially those, again, who are badly in need of organ transplants. It's a good thing when you do the right thing. So step up, let's do what's good to help each other out. And thank you once again for tuning in on Living in the 21st Century.